Let me start by very briefly giving what I think are the 5 lessons we should have learned from the wars against Islamist extremists since 9/11, because if you get these lessons right, the policy sort of falls out. The first is that ungoverned spaces in the Muslim world will be exploited by Islamist extremists. It will happen. Question is how big it is, not just whether it will happen. Second is you have to do something about it. Las Vegas rules don't apply in these places. What happens there doesn't stay there. You can ultimately have the kind of geopolitical Chernobyl that is Syria, the meltdown of a country that has spewed violence, instability, extremists, and refugees, not just into neighboring countries, but all the way into Western Europe and our NATO allies, which has caused the biggest domestic political challenges those countries have seen since the end of the Cold War, and created challenges, I'd argue, for ourselves as well. Fourth is the U.S. has to lead, generally. You might get away, France might do Mali, we're still going to be very big in it, but we have essentially built capabilities that are many, many multiples what all of our potential allies and partners put together. We want to have them. We want to have a coalition. We especially want to have Muslim countries, but we need to recognize that our capabilities, especially in intelligence, surveillance, reconnaissance assets, drones, unmanned, and also then some manned assets, precision strike, and the industrial strength ability to fuse intelligence, these have truly changed what our options are, as I'll get to in the end. The fourth is you have to have a comprehensive campaign, civil, military, all the elements that were present in the surge in Iraq, but without us doing all of them. And that is made possible because of these capabilities that we have, where we can, in a sense, fight through others. We can enable them, we can advise them, assist them, train, equip, support, but we're not doing the dying and fighting on the front lines. Right. We're not doing the political reconciliation. We're supporting it, the reconstruction, the restoration of basic services, et cetera. And that is crucial because number 5 is that this is a sustained threat. This is a generational endeavor, not the fight of a decade or much less a few years. We have to acknowledge that, and if you do acknowledge it, then you realize you have to have a sustained commitment, but you can only sustain a commitment if it is sustainable in terms of blood and treasure, and we have actually figured out how to do that. I would argue that in Afghanistan, we are now conducting a campaign, however fraught the security situation, but it is quite sustainable in terms of blood and treasure. And what we did in Iraq, where both of us felt we should not have pulled out, but we did, but we ultimately did figure out how to do this, and a credit to the previous administration, and then this one has built on that. So that's how I would come down on that. And I think, again, always it helps to get the big ideas, the lessons right, and then the policy generally falls out from that.
Ryan.
Let me just...
and remember, this is President Trump calling you. He doesn't have a lot of time on the phone. I'm not criticizing what Dave said, but he wants
You could DM him on Twitter and then just get it down to like 140.
Oddly enough, I'm not on a speed dial. So I just building on what Dave said, I would distill that into one fundamental point. Is the United States of America prepared to continue its global leadership role established after World War II? The anecdotal information out there is no.